Jonathan. This is the Global Digest think tank group. Why don't you briefly introduce yourself and your company to our audience? Please, Jonathan.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Jonathan Bertrand, and I'm from the United States, Orlando, Florida, and I'm founder of the Social Media Research Institute. We discuss how social media impacts your mental and behavioral health, and I myself have been developing a national framework here in the States and also a global framework centered around social media harm reduction, developing programs such as Social Media First Aid, where we work with different organizations, companies, and governments around the world to bring a streamlined solution to how social media impacts your mental and behavioral health.
So your company is non-government organization or is affiliated with government?
So we are a for-profit company here in the United States, but we do work with all types of organizations. We're nonpartisan, so we make sure that whatever we do is able to be used anywhere on any spectrum. But we also basically try to make it as streamlined as possible, so anyone we talk to can be relatable. Because we realize that in our field, we all use social media. We all have kind of some common interest in the online space. So building something that can be streamlined no matter the country, no matter the language, definitely does help us. And making sure that we are basically non-government, but we work with government is important.
Let's see. It's how big your organization?
So we actually operate currently in 22 countries. We have a group of us, about 96 of us, which is called the Social Media Researchers Group, which was our internal group of researchers created by Dr. Jeff Shires from Michigan, Indiana area. And basically we were able to kind of curate different researchers from around the world, UK, Nigeria, Australia, and many other locations to basically have social media discussions in their area. And one thing we realize is that individuals that come to us, they have their own style of what goes on in their area or what goes on in their region. So we recently, about maybe a year ago, we were working with the International Leadership Visitors Program with the United States government here in Orlando, Florida. And we brought over delegations from Asia and parts of Europe. This was before the Ukrainian war happened. And we got real insight on what goes on over there, things that we never even thought of as a, developed country, as they say, and developing countries, what they go through. So bringing in those different experts from around the world and making sure that we can have a diverse pool of expertise in the field definitely does help the conversation.
I see. So it means organization headquarters is in US.
Yes.
You can say you have a lot of branch office in different countries.
Yes. Okay. So right now, basically, we're just a large network of individuals right now, because the institute we're all remote right now. So we're all remote, but we work with different universities that we go to physically. We work with, like, for example, we just worked with an organization called the Spring Hill Group. They have groups at Harvard, Yale, all these different areas. And we're going to be releasing a document with them, but that just goes to show that we do have a pull in all different type of backgrounds and different university settings, whether it's college, community college, or four-year or international college. So that's kind of where we aim right now, is the college group, because we get a lot of interest there from upcoming researchers, university professors, university presidents, deans that are still within the know. Now, the goal, though, is to eventually have a social media research institute in the main countries that social media is kind of impacting, in developing and non-developing countries. So, for example, we're looking to have one in the UK, one in Ogun State, Nigeria, one in Asia as well, in Singapore, what connections we have there. And then also Australia, where we just submitted some documents for Parliament with some many other colleagues that are trying to create solutions in Australia. So the goal is to eventually get to that point where we can have private funding, because we know that government funding has a lot of restrictions. So the goal is to either go private equity or VC. So we're trying to figure out kind of like what the best avenue is, because this is such a rare and new topic for our generation, that a lot of the funding that typically comes from those type of institutions or philanthropical funding, where you can really do much of anything you want and go anywhere. So we're trying to navigate those waters, because here in the States, we have that issue where big tech funds basically everything, like literally. And we're trying to convince people that the institute we have is not funded by big tech. It's not funded by private equity 100%. Right now I am maybe like three other people. We're basically the ones building the infrastructure globally here that you may see online or through other individuals that may talk about it. So people really don't understand that you don't need $1 billion to start an industry. You just need a couple people that are willing to set the framework, build the foundation, and then start building that network. And of course, the funding will come later. But if you don't have that foundation set up, it's never going to work.
So you never get government funding?
Yes. So okay, yes. So one of the things that we're looking to do right now, we've done like a Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, which was like a $10 million grant we applied for. We didn't get it because, of course, it's highly competitive, as you probably know, when you go for grants of that level. But we are definitely having a lot of meetings in Washington, D.C. There's an organization called the JED Foundation, which works with kids in suicide prevention here in the States. So that's an organization that just recently made a post on LinkedIn about how they're going to be, hosting a policy event. So the organizations that we work with do a lot of policy development here in the States. So we're trying to kind of understand like what would get passed through the Senate, what will get passed through Congress. How can we break those barriers to where it's nonpartisan, and when the funding does come, where does the red tape lie where we don't have to go through all the hoops to get this stuff going when we know it's already happening? So what we've done here at the Social Media Research Institute, we proved it could be done. We proved that this information is needed. We proved that parents want this, that governments want this, nationally, internationally. But getting past that bureaucracy of it all is what we're dealing with now. And that's kind of the hardest part.
Right. So your organization official name is Social Media Research Institute.
Yes.
And you have a program, or it's similar organization name, that Social Media First Aid or Social Media Harm Reduction?
Yes. Okay. So Social Media First Aid is the program that the Institute started to basically create the conversation and like a train the trainer model. So we realized that here in the States, a lot of people like train the trainer model. So they like to be trained and then they go educate their community. So we created this thing called Social Media First Aid, where we cover the psycho, spiritual, social aspect of social media. So mental, physical, social life, personal life. We try to make sure that we encompass all that within Social Media First Aid, and training the social media user on how social media affects them. Now, typically here in the States, it's all about marketing and branding to the user of social media. But we found that nobody's talking about the mental health aspect of the user. So we said, well, if we create a program called Social Media First Aid, that can be streamlined, that can be translated, that can be used all across, and we don't have to worry about can this fit in this market? Can this fit in that market? It's Social Media First Aid. We all use social media to some point or some degree, no matter where you're from and no matter what background. So it's a program that we were being able to develop over 5 years.
So when did you start that, and what made you starting this Social Media Research Institute? You are the founder, right?
Yes. Yes. So I actually started it 5 years ago. So in 2019, it was originally called the Social Media Research Fund. And I didn't know that you actually needed, millions of dollars and, a lot of money to run a fund. So I ended up closing that down. And then I started the Research Institute. and that's kind of how I did it. But yeah, I started it from being bullied online. I myself was a bully victim. I know people may say that doesn't happen, just turn off the, the phone or turn off the computer. But people don't realize that 12 years ago, I'm 29 years old, that this was actually, a taboo conversation. No one was talking about how social media research is needed. Nobody was talking about the dependency of social media. Nobody was talking about the dopamine behavior and depression state that people can get by using social media negatively. And I was someone that saw
Right.
a need and that there was an issue. So I started the institute to address that and to develop it independently from big tech because I knew big tech controlled the research. I knew if you control the research, you control policy, you control the way a generation thinks and the way that they're influenced. And that's why I've been doing it for 15 years.
See. So what are main problem you are facing and you have overcome or you are dealing? It's mostly among young people because you are below 30, So how did you, what is your finding?
So actually, so our finding is that a lot of the individuals want this work. They want the work, they want the support, but the individuals that fund the work, the foundations, the nonprofits, don't really understand what the younger generation is looking for. So me being in the middle, I'm like I said again, a millennial. I'm able to see both sides. So I'm just above, right before technology came into play, and then I'm also, right after it started taking over. So we've been trying to let them know that there is support, there is help, there is guidance. You do matter. We do see you. And that there are individuals at SMRI who can relate to what you've been through, whether it's depression, whether it's opioid substance abuse, whether it's alcohol abuse, all these different things, losing passion for things, losing identity of self, um, been through all that. So we see that heavily and acknowledging that you do exist in a world that is now based off numbers. So we've been trying to bring that to the forefront and we realize that everyone has a story. So we make sure that every user that we get in touch with or anybody that comes to us, we want to know their story. And we make them known that, hey, we're here for you. This is developed by you for you. So what you tell us, it only helps us understand more of what we need to do as an institute and as advocates of this program and this new industry of social media harm reduction.
See, uh, what is the most, when you're in your experience, it's most experience uh, related to suicide or what's the most problem in America? I guess you are working mainly in America, right?
Yes, right now.
International, you are still less dealing those problems. So in America, mainly the problem most you people are facing about suicide issue or what kind of harm most people are facing.
Okay, so a lot of people here, it's deal with opioid problems, so drug problems. So a lot of the kids basically overdose due to what they see on like Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, or any other social media site that they have, depending on what you use. And it's a gateway. It's a direct gateway to a new lifestyle that they probably never were experiencing before.
You
And
mean they are buying and they are
yes,
marketing from social media tool for OPM and drug
yes,
addiction. I see.
yes. Yes, and also too, that leads to other things happening. So that leads to higher level of depression, higher level of dependency, higher level of suicide. And what people don't know is that a lot of these things have been heavily documented by big tech. So like this is known, but because the
I
research is buried, it's like when we do our research, it's just validating what already has been done. It's just the fact that a lot of these private institutions keep the research to themselves, or they keep it behind a paywall. So what we're trying to do is bring it to the forefront where people can get access to it, have knowledge for it, and we've been able to be very successful with that when it comes to our research. And we literally, actually, at the beginning of the year, we released a book called, Profit Above People. And basically, that book was just kind of going over all the detail from the federal documents showing the dependency of social media, that they knew about it, the emails that they knew about, everything. And we're like, why isn't this something that is talked about? Well, because here in America, it's about capitalism. So if it doesn't make money, it doesn't make sense. But unlike other countries we work with or other professionals we work with in their regions, they put people first before profit. So they're quicker to move, they're quicker to address things, they're more open and honest about it. Here, everybody knows it's a problem, but it's like the Truman Show. I don't know if you've seen that before, but it's a show here where basically the individual is in a bubble, and the bubble is monitored 24/7, and it's a make believe reality. And I tell people that in America we live in a Truman Show, where we know what's going on, we know it's a problem, we know we need a solution, but no one's addressing the problem because they're living in this
Right,
utopia society. And that's what we're dealing with now.
right. So you are dealing also cyberbullying. Cyberbullying. What kind of cyberbullying you people are facing here?
So I mean, it could be, well, cyberbullying is basically, it could be verbal, so like voice memos. So like when you send a voice memo to somebody and you see some type of comment that you don't like, messages on the comments. So it could be just a genuine post about maybe a relationship you have with somebody. A lot of people body shame nowadays. That's a major thing that kids deal with. Also, when it comes to just being alone, people think that, we're alone in this world, and we're really not. We just don't really know how to communicate anymore. And that's something that people kind of highlight big time here in America, where you could see someone every single day, but go on their social media and they highlight their depression. They highlight their dependencies. They highlight the problems that they face online, but will never address it in real life. And people kind of chime in on that, and they escalate the problem to what could have been just a conversation with a friend to a population of 7,000, 20,000 people. And social media amplifies the negativity so bad that these individuals that deal with online depression or online dependency of social media become who they actually portray online, which ends up becoming a disconnect to reality, leading them to do those things that they probably should not do online, making them having those problems where the comments come, the videos come, the retweets come, or the reposts come about what they just said, causing things that probably would never happen on a normal day, amplifies it up, 20-fold. And then they don't know how to address it or handle it because it brings fame that they didn't expect, or it brings people that they would never have a conversation with on a normal day. But because of interest and drama, it just opens up a new can of conversation and things that they probably don't know and would probably not want to face by themselves.
Right. What about when you talk about cyberbullying, and what about racial discrimination? Is they are correlated? Because some people can
Oh,
talk or using, online social media, hatred speech, or, discrimination speech. What is the line, freedom of speech and those hatred speech, and how you consider cyberbullying, and how can be, uh, it, the legal frameworks allow, maybe in America, or I don't know, in international level. We made recently the UN, United Nations, developed a kind of social media, online internet regulation. In America, how did you, uh, you dealing those things?
Okay, so when it comes to regulation and free speech, and racial stuff here in America, we are very divided. So I come from an African American community, so a lot of the material that I see is geared towards my culture. And we're big here on the algorithms. So for people that don't know what an algorithm is a computer model that is built off of what you post, what you say, what you like. It goes through your websites that you see through the week, and it basically curates content that you basically would potentially like. Not saying that's what you want to see, but you would like. So for us, for example, right now, a lot of our content that we see is mainly, racist content. It's geared
Right.
towards African Americans getting shot. Um, hang from trees, a lot of slavery conversations, a lot of reparation conversations. It's literally a repeat of what we see every 4 years. So around an election
See.
cycle here. And also too, because of course, as everybody knows, here in America, we talk about immigration and the borders and all this stuff. We're always inundated with information, and we honestly no longer know what is true and what is false anymore, due to the fact that social media itself is considered the news. So, like for example, I have white counterparts who um, we don't believe anything that I believe because of what they see online and what they're told. And they would be some people would consider them Republicans. Some people would consider me a Democrat. Just depends on how you see, the lines that you are given and fed to. So social media creates a dangerous void of conversation where it's turned families against each other's. It's turned, brothers and sisters against each other. Friends that know each other for every 4 years, it's like you drop friends off and pick up new ones because of what you believe online. So, like you said, when it comes to the UN, I've always tell people, and I've always said this, I said the goal here for SMRI is to create a hub that is like the UN, where we have multiple nations come together, where the research is unified and used between all the countries, so it's streamlined and developed. And these things like the UN, can do, where they put charters in and they do, conventions. I'm like, there needs to be, global headquarters based on where the region is for this type of thing, because if we're not addressing it as such, where we can all come together as a unified group and have a unified understanding, unified terms, we're going to have this thing where, and where you're from, you may say social media is not a problem because it's not a cultural thing, or it may not be like it is here. Where here, you step off that plane, you're connected to Wi-Fi, you're able to download every app known to man. There's not much regulation. Everybody knows big tech is the top six tech company CEOs and presidents. They control what we see. So if you give the power to six people to over 4 billion plus people on, all these platforms, and there's no regulation, it's like you got people that are changing governments behind desks right now that run these accounts, that are meeting up with foreign diplomats and dignitaries over a social media post. You're changing the power balance globally based on platforms that were never in existence 20, 30 years ago. So what do you do now? So that's kind of where we're trying to figure out what needs to be done. Do we need to create that unified body like the UN, but for big tech? So where we come together to work with them or keep them in check. And it's crazy to think, but sometimes it takes that level of collaboration to make it happen.
Right. I think we need a lot of collaboration and solution, right?
Yes.
So what the regulation exactly wants? It's cyberbullying and using social media in America. What level you can have freedom of speech and what can be punishable in social media in US, I think, in US.
Okay, so Okay, see, so that's the thing because like so okay, so I'll give a quick example of like what they're doing in the UK right now. So basically, if it's hate speech, like let's say I say, John, I hate you. I don't like you, you know, what you talk about makes no sense, and I'm just going in on you, and you feel threatened. In the UK, they just passed a law recently where they can show up to your house, confiscate your phone, and literally put you in jail for what you said online. Now, here in America, at this point, you can't do that. Like, that would be considered crazy, violating my First Amendment right. I could drag you all the way to Timbuktu. But the thing is that it's based on the laws, people know loopholes. So for me, when people ask me that question, what could be done? Education. There is no, yes, people are talking about it. They're hosting workshops. That's great. That's wonderful. I do the same thing. But there needs to be a federal global understanding from big tech to the users. This is the education that we support. This is the unified usage. This is what it is. These are the terminologies that we use. This they don't even talk about that. So I don't think punishing people is going to help because they're still going to use it when they're off punishment. They're going to make fake accounts, which that has happened, where you can't track it. It's called they call it Finsta accounts here in the States, are like fake accounts, where they hide behind the keyboards, and they troll all day long. And I've seen people kill themselves. I've seen a lot of things. Sorry to get morbid, but a lot of things have happened where people create all these different avenues to avoid. Now it has it now on Meta, where it shows every account that you've ever had or the different variations that the person from the account has had. So they're getting better with it now. But honestly, it's such a gray area that it's like, what do you do? What do you do other than education and develop research that's not controlled by them? I think they know what they need to do, and that means they need to comply with some federal laws or work with the governments around the world to make it make sense. I'll give you another example. Australia just released an interim report, and it was what, 3 months ago, that about 217 were selected to be a part of this report. My institute was one of them, and through a submission base. And we waited, 2 3 months to have this report done, and it was a two-pager. It was just a two-pager. Pretty shocking. I thought it was going to be, a report kind of finding at least the preliminary stuff, but we have to wait till November 15th or 18th to find out what exactly the full report is. But you can tell it was inconclusive so far because something happened with somebody that something just was like, oh, we had to postpone it and we couldn't come up with anything so far, basically is what it said. So I'm like, well, you guys are parliament, you're the government. So that gives a look to big tech that either y'all don't care. Yes, you care, it's cool. But that first report for that subcommittee or that joint committee could have been a statement to the Australian people. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to focus on it. So here we are now. Everybody's wondering, what is the next step? How is this going to be addressed? And where could these laws go in Australia? So we're just making sure now that, okay, well, when November comes, what can we add to the conversation that could streamline education and independent research that is not funded by big tech? I think those two things will open up a floodgate for a global collaborational effort, and it has to be done. And you're one of those people that, see the mindset, that understand that it can be done. You just have to believe. Everybody's kind of in limbo right now.
I see. So as you said, US is more loosely in terms of legal system related to the cyberbullying online issue compared to UK. UK can come, police can come at home, and they can arrest or punish, as you said,
Yeah.
in cyber online issue. What about, you also mentioned about monitoring social media account, when you are monitoring somebody, Facebook or somebody media will not be, on the other side, violate privacy.
Yeah.
Is how your federal law or U.S. Legal system privacy and monitoring somebody account.
Oh, so yeah, so we do have laws around privacy. They say privacy, but honestly, what is privacy nowadays? What is privacy? I mean, to me, it's a term we use to give people peace. But when you really look at what privacy is, we really have no privacy. And I always, and I know people are going to hate me for this, but I tell people, read the terms and conditions. Read the term. There was literally a show on Netflix, maybe 10 years ago, called Terms and Conditions. And this film literally said, with the FBI on the show, saying that basically big tech is the biggest gift to the FBI and CIA because we as Americans, users of social media nationally, globally, we give our information so freely that we literally build what I call a social media persona online. It's our identification. And we also go deeper with the Institute and we call it a cyber psychoanalysis. So we tell people that how we can figure people out so quickly. I've never been a part of the military, never been a part of CIA, never been a part of any of these organizations, independent, doing it by myself. I created these methods because I knew that I could study someone's account, learn their online behavior, figure out their patterns, and end up becoming and understanding who they actually are before I even meet them. And people don't realize like that's a scary thing when you really think about privacy. So I try to remind people that privacy is an illusion. It's a sense of hope that people have, and um, like I said, I know I'm not gonna be liked for that, but we gotta tell people the truth. And to me, the truth is letting them know that the more you post, the more you show, the more you show, the more people know, and the more people know, you don't you that privacy is no longer there. So
So
you can't be
your, your,
delusional
your
about it.
point is it doesn't matter privacy for the common people, but only those who talking about privacy is they are elite or some
Yes.
special, I mean some group, some maybe like you are saying, maybe very rich or
Yes.
who are maybe very powerful or some elite, they matter about privacy. But for common people, foreign people, is not matter privacy. You said it's free in America, freedom country. You said American people share information,
Yeah.
instead of, restricting or controlling by
Exactly.
privacy. So that's you want to say it's not matter for privacy is not matter for common people.
Well, yes, and then also to remember, when it comes to social media here in the States, it's free. So we get free social media all day long, any platform, whatever you want to use. Other countries, you got to pay for it. So there's different policies, different restrictions for things like that. I've never been in a country where I had to pay for it. So I don't know how I would react as someone who gets it for free every day. How would that affect my life? How would that affect my understanding of social media? I know people that don't even use it. They only have maybe three or four posts on their profile account, and that's it. Unlike here in America. So, yeah, just to wrap it up, instead of time, it's the type of thing where I let people know that there is a solution. Social media harm reduction is a new term here in the United States. Social media first aid is a new term in the United States as well. And when they hear what I have to say, just so everybody knows my level of expertise, 15 years, I'm the US trademark holder for both terms. So we literally pioneered this conversation before even big tech was doing it. I've worked with literally top to the bottom. So I've met with a lot of these individuals face to face. So, like I said, we're independent. We're building something that can be streamlined around the world. And I hope to just have people know that there's hope and there's solution. And you know, if this was about money, I would not be doing this because you know, you're basically out here battling titans and giants at this point.
Well, just for privacy, isn't a lot of US lady doesn't complain? They did not say, they did not talk about privacy.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, yeah, but people typically hide what they don't want to be known. I mean, that's the normal thing. That's human nature. But they end up exposing it anyways, whether it's through the followers that they have, the likes that they have. People's humans' intentions come alive online, and that's the whole point of the public, private, and social media persona. Look up the triple conscious theory. We talk about it. It's a real thing, and I just remind people that you know, be careful what you post responsibly, and remember, one post can change the mind, one comment can change a generation, and that's how powerful it is.
Okay, for the last, you said about social media deployment. So, you know, I have a lot of different country networking and cooperation using social media. So actually, I am doing social media diplomacy. So
Yeah.
maybe more than you, I'm doing social media diplomacy.
Okay, no, for sure. Well, number one, it's research, collaboration. I'm figuring out how my work could help your work in your country, and figuring out what type of partners we have between each other that can work together and streamline this process. It's not as hard as people think. You know, like I said, money will be there. Let's get the job done. Let's figure out that part because we're building legacies here, and our legacy needs to be that certain people around this world actually care about the general people and general population and that we can do it. So that's how I know we can do it. We were doing it already. So I
Right.
appreciate you reaching out and making an effort. So I look forward to, you know, working with the Global Digest Media and seeing how SMRI can bring value to you.
Right. And also we can do campaign, social media campaign for different human rights and different freedom issue, you know, we
Yeah.
can cooperate on that. I don't know, you have ever did campaign, social media campaign?
Yes, we have in South America.
I see. So that's good. I think we can cooperate more and we can keep in touch, Jonathan.
Thank you.